Hey, it's Melissa from Special Ed Law Mom, coming to you with another video about FERPA. If you haven't seen my brief highlight video about the Family Education Rights and Educational Rights and Privacy Act, I'll put a link for that down below. It just gives you some highlights of the law, but there's a lot to cover in the law. So I'm doing several videos about it to help you understand it better. So I'm getting everything out of this book that I jokingly call my Bible, Special Ed Law by Pete Wright. If you haven't purchased it, there's a link down below. It's probably one of the best investments I ever made to advocate for my kids and to help other kids. So check it out. Also, From Emotions to Advocacy by him is down below. That will help you learn more about the system and the different players and how things work and may not always be as they seem. So, the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act involves educational records, and they define educational records as those records, files, documents, and other materials which contain information directly related to a student and are maintained by an educational agency or institution or by a person acting for such agency or institution. What I want to talk to you about today is the provision of the right to inspect and review educational records. It says parents have a right to inspect and review all educational records relating to their child. This right includes the right to have copies of records and to receive explanations and interpretations from school officials. Agencies must comply with requests to inspect and review within 45 days. Now, if you make a request for education records and you're not don't have the most positive relationship with the school system, A, they may take 45 days. B, they may try and charge you for those records. The law says that copies of the records must be provided to the parent if failure to do so would prevent the parent from exercising the right to view the records. Schools may charge reasonable copying fees unless the fee would effectively prevent the parent or student from exercising the right to inspect and review the records. Fees may not be charged for searching and retrieving records. And then it goes on to say, if circumstances effectively prevent the parent or eligible student from exercising the right to inspect and review, the educational agency or institution, or SEA, State Education Agency, shall provide the parent of the eligible student with a copy of the records requested or make other arrangements for the parent to inspect and review. Long story short, they can try to charge a fee, and they will. A lot of times they will. They cannot charge a fee for retrieving records. So if they want to tell you that there's a copy fee, 20 cents per copy, they can try to impose that fee. I don't know about you, but I don't ever want to pay a fee if I don't have to. And the act says that if the fee would prevent the parent from being able to review and inspect the records, then they can't charge it. So in my mind, they shouldn't be charging it. They maintain it, and they should just be giving them to you. If you want to spend your money paying for records, go ahead and do that. But I would be quick to point out that they can't charge, and charging would prevent me basically from paying another bill to pay them. And so therefore, I'm not going to pay, and they need to provide them anyways. So I want to give you two stories about FERPA. The first one involved one of my children, obviously. And there was a situation where they were doing an intervention. We wanted a specific intervention. Of course, when you request a specific intervention, if you're not on good standing, and even if the school district has that intervention, sometimes they'll tell you no, and they'll want to do their own intervention. So they were doing an intervention with my daughter, and it was not helping her. It was actually causing regression in skills and anxiety and whatnot. So it was a computer program to help with noise sensitivity. And so I began requesting the data from the computer program because I kept hearing how wonderfully she was doing. And yet we weren't seeing it. In fact, we were seeing regression. So I kept asking for the computer data. Well, they kept telling me they couldn't retrieve it from the system. They couldn't get it off the computer. There was no way for them to provide it. So sorry, have a nice day. And I had gone all the way to the special ed director, same excuse, same, you know. So I ended up filing a FERPA complaint. I wrote a letter to the office, and I'll put a link to the form down below that you can fill out. I don't remember them having that link when I was going through this, but I wrote a letter to the FERPA office. I believe they are in Colorado. Not need to refresh myself on that. And within 2 weeks, I got a call from the school that they had moved heaven and earth and they were suddenly able to get those records for me. Isn't that ironic after I contacted the FERPA office, how quickly that happened? And they knew, and I suspected, and once I got the records, it was confirmed that the intervention was not helping. And I believe that's why they were trying to hide the records from me and not be willing to give them to me. And they had told me prior to my complaint, they had, moved heaven and earth to try to get these, and their top IT guy couldn't even pull it off the system. And within 2 weeks of filing that complaint, they had found a way to get those to me. So you do have the right to the records, and you do have the right to file a complaint if they won't give them. My second story about records has to do with my other child. We were getting prepared to file due process, and I wanted any records that had anything referencing us, our child, our family in any way. I wanted anything. And of course, they told me that it would be thousands of dollars and they could charge me and I would have to pay for copies and all these things. And I have one of those desktop printer scanner combo units. And so I just wrote them back and told them, no, I'm not going to pay those fees. And I will be happy to come down to the district office and bring my little desktop copier and some paper and go through the documents that you have. And so they actually had a room for me at the district office. I sat there for 2 days, I think 4 or 5 hours each day. They had someone sit in the room with me and they would bring in boxes, huge boxes, because I asked for emails, I asked for everything, huge boxes of documents. And I didn't have time to go through all of them at that moment, but I would quickly glance at them and then I would copy them. And I believe I went through 2 or 3 reams of paper copying them and just sat there and did that for hours while they paid this person to sit there with me. And there was a gold mine of information in there, including pre-IEP meeting notes that said, this is how you're supposed to react when mom asks for this. Just hold firm that we're not doing that. All sorts of things that we were able to present at due process. But it was interesting to just turn it on them and say, no, you're not going to charge me and you're not going to restrict me. I'll just come down with my little copier and make those copies. And I think they were really surprised at due process with the things that I pulled out. But that was my right under FERPA. And instead of going back and forth and arguing and waiting 45 days and wondering if they had given me things, I just took it in my own hands, went down and did that. I understand you might not be able to do that. You might not feel comfortable doing that. And so, but don't pay for the records unless you're really wealthy and don't mind paying for them and have enough money to pay for everything else in life. Don't pay for them. You don't have to. And you can just pull this out and let them know you're not paying for them and you need access to those records. And honestly, you need copies because who can digest everything on the spot, in an office? It's just better to have the copies. So I hope that that's helpful. I'll be doing more videos on FERPA, so stay tuned for those. And until next time, make it a great day. Thanks. Bye.